Thank you, Mr. Bozeman. I have just a couple of questions for the panel. Mr. Bozeman, if I could start with you. In making TAP mandatory, I asked this question, I think, of Mr. Colton in the previous panel. The Marines have made it mandatory. So in your experience and in your opinion, do you think that this is going to require Congress to act to make it mandatory? Or do you think that the Department of Defense can make it mandatory within each branch following the suit of the Marines?
Madam Chairwoman, what I would say personally is it should be mandatory through DOD. I was visiting the other day with a retiring E6 from the Air Force, and since given this task to come onto this panel, I decided to ask people that I saw in uniform about the program, and this gal was just outstanding. Her positiveness was just great. When she gets out of the service, she's going to do great things. And the TAP program is setting her up for that. And I said, well, that's great for those of you that are retiring, but how about that E3, that E2 or even E4 that's getting out after 3 or 4 years? And she was telling me that they really don't care about it. They just want to get out and go home. The problem is in a few years, they're going to say, I wish I would have known about that. And so many of them don't even know to go check in with their local county offices to sign up for the veterans benefits. Because if nothing else, the veteran service officer there would be able to visit with them for a little while. While all this discussion was going on, I was sitting back there thinking about something. I'm the brains of the organization. But we talk about this being a great recruiting tool. Has there been any thought given to including a representative in a recruiting office so that people could see the veterans coming and going and what they were doing after service? Just a thought. But as far as making it mandatory, I think it needs to come from above, because at the service level, if it isn't mandatory, we're going to have commanding officers or someone in command saying the job takes precedence over what you're going to get in TAP right now.
I appreciate your response. And 2 years ago when we had the hearing, field hearing focused on this topic in part out at Ellsworth Air Force Base, they were going through a reduction in force. And so you have some of these younger airmen who may or may not take advantage of TAP. I think with a RIF in particular, there's an additional obligation, the Department of Defense, to ensure that this information is shared with these younger individuals. But I do think, I appreciate your thoughts there, and even if, one of the things we heard 2 years ago was, well, if you make it mandatory, then they're going to feel like it's just like every other mandatory program, they're not going to get as much out of it. While that may be true in the short term for some of them, they're still going to have certain of that information that they retain or remember that it's available to more likely follow up or know where to follow up to get that information than if they don't go through the program at all. So I appreciate your response. And then one other thing, Mr. Bose, you recommended that TAP workshops should have a stronger employment, mental health, and small business component. Do you think that there should be workshops that address only 1 or 2 of those topics at a time so there's a stronger focus? Would you agree with the service members that testified earlier that it should be a longer duration to cover some of these other topics you recommend?
Madam Chairwoman, I feel that the longer term of receiving that knowledge would be better. The idea that you get it in one fast blast, I heard turbo TAP, a computer online system to get the information. That's all good, but the first time through you're going to pick up some information. The next time through you're going to pick up a little more. So if we start out 6 months prior to somebody's return or getting out of the service, start giving them that data, it'll slowly sink in to where when they get out, they say, oh, wait a minute, I remember. It was said at TAP that I need to go check in with that veteran service officer. One thing that the American Legion does also is we have a veterans forum. Each district within the American Legion puts on a forum once a year, and we bring in all these people. I would like to find a TAP representative to include in my districts
Thank you. To Ms. Werlinger and Ms. Higginbottom, the auxiliaries have been working with family readiness groups. And both of you had talked about the importance of communication with the families, sort of this timeline of when you get the information to the family, if it's too early or too late, it will dilute its effectiveness. Could each of you elaborate in a little bit greater detail, sort of where you think TAP needs to be improved for Guards, men and women, and their families in particular? Have you worked with the family readiness groups to communicate to the National Guard leadership about the importance of encouraging not just full-time Guard, but part-time Guard to participate in the Transition Assistance Program offered at Ellsworth, or looking to see if those types of programs could be offered in Sioux Falls or elsewhere in the state?
I don't know the answer. Is it on? We in Aberdeen have not had, can you hear me? Because this is how much it's on. There we go. In Aberdeen, it seems like there has been, I was just sharing with her earlier that we are not getting the communication out there like they seem to be getting out here. And I don't know if they're sending a representative out there. Just a week or so ago, a wife called me and her husband's disability had been increased, which allowed her to receive CHAMP VA. And she was, he returned it like 6 years ago. He was one of their first ones back. And so everybody knows TRICARE in Aberdeen in the hospitals and the doctors or CHAMPUS, but they weren't aware of what CHAMP VA was and how she could get help with that. And we're in the middle, Minot's up there and Ellsworth over there. And it's just like we need some help and support working up there with them. And it being from Rapid City, I'm feeling like you're getting the help you need. And I really think we need more help up in that northeast corner here with it.
The only other thing I can think of, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, is these servicemen and women, they need whatever they can get. And the sooner they can get it, the better off they are. I know in my own personal life, when my husband retired from the Air Force, he had all the information available for him. I was not included as a spouse for that retirement separation. I could have been, but he did not want me there. Well, being the person I am, I got the information anyway. But that's because that came with him with here. But I feel that some of those things should be mandatory. And I have not heard of anybody that I can think of right off the top of my head that has had any problems. But like I said, when they need it, they need it. And they should have it.
Well, one quick follow-up for you then is the accuracy of information that you identified in your testimony and some of the concerns of the accuracy of the information that they're getting. I mean, not only do they need it, and anything they can get they need, we have to make sure it's accurate. So does the American Legion Auxiliary have any specific recommendations? Is it an issue of training within the TAP program itself? Is it facilitating accurate information, as the previous panel was talking about? Even some of the fact sheets coming from the VA sometimes aren't as comprehensive as we need them to be to fully explain the benefits. Do you have any specific recommendations on how we can improve the accuracy of the information?
Well, I have to go along with Mr. Bose. I think that if we can have a TAP representative at those meetings that we have for the Veterans Forum for the benefits, then we'll get that information that we need.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for your testimony today, for your leadership in your respective organizations. As a member of one of the auxiliaries, I appreciate very much the role that both organizations play in supporting the American Legion and the VFW. And we appreciate, again, your leadership, Commander, and we'll look forward to following up with you on your suggestions to better